Well, hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Welcome to Inspirations for Your Life. Great to be with you on Thursday. For those of you that are following, this is the Holy Week, and today is Thursday. This is the Last Supper. For those of you that are following that, for those of you that are celebrating Passover, well, happy Passover to you. Or I don't know, I know it's not happy. Well, I guess peaceful Passover, I guess, to be you would be the best thing I can say to you guys. So let me say this to you guys. I had a little call there. Sorry about that. I thought I had our phones muted, but apparently they weren't. Just wanted to welcome you to Inspirations for Your Life. Our master topic is what you say, what you do, who you are, right? What you say, what you do, who you are. That's the master topic for the week. And the granular topic is questions that cut through noise, series 4, show 16, episode number 6. Wow. Okay. So let's just dive right in, shall we? All right. Well, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. I'm not only a podcast host, but I'm also a podcast coach and engineer. And it's great to be with you here today. We come to you all different times. Do check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, of course, inspiring creations. And now let's get on with the show. But before I do, I invite you to go to the kitchen, maybe get yourself something delicious, something hot, something cold, something tasty, something sweet, something tart, something healthy or not. It's totally up to you, and hurry on back to the show. All right. So, in a world, ladies and gentlemen, filled with constant distractions, social media noise, and endless options, it's easy to lose place or sight of what really matters to us. But what if the answer to cutting through all the chaos wasn't louder shouting, but smarter asking? In this episode of Inspirations for Your Life, I'm going to dive into the art and science of asking the right questions, questions that spark clarity, ignite purpose, and basically allow silence to basically come to the top, getting rid of that mental clutter, the what we like to say, the chattering monkeys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. There are more than just a few questions, and they're your compass to more focused, fulfilled, and empowered life. Let's start off with number one. Noise isn't just literal sound, okay? It's the mental static that fills our lives. It's the opinions of others, the nonstop news cycle, the endless scroll of social media, and the internal voice that tells us we're not enough. This kind of noise is sneaky. It creeps in under the radar and influences our choices without us even realizing it. When we're surrounded by too much noise, it becomes nearly impossible to hear out our own thoughts or feel grounded in our truth. Recognizing what noise is and where it shows up is a key. It's the first step to reclaiming our freedom, getting our attention, and of course, our intention back. Once we know what's getting in the way, we can begin to clear a path toward clarity. Now, number two, guys, number two is a very, very important point. Number two has to deal with why most questions get ignored. Why most questions get ignored. And I think this is one that probably throws people for a loop. The reason I say this is because they just don't know. Most people ask questions, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, they ask questions that don't demand attention. They're either too vague, too self centered, or simply not emotionally engaging. Think of it as boring, uninspiring. Meeting where someone says, "Any questions?" That's not an invitation really for a question. It's a dismissal to wrap up and move on to lunch or to the next topic. Our brains are wired in such a way to filter out irrelevant data. So if a question doesn't activate curiosity, tension, or purpose, it'll just slide right past our mental radar. In this episode, I'm going to break down how to stop asking questions that go unheard and how to start asking the ones that light a fire in people's minds. Getting noticed isn't about volume, it's about the value. So, when we think about this, we want to talk about something very important. That's number three. What makes a question so valuable? What makes a question so valuable? Um, I think the most important thing to realize is a powerful question isn't just clever, it's transformational. It digs deeper, uncovers layers, and challenges assumptions. These questions often come with emotional charge. They make us pause, reflect, and reframe the most impactful questions. And so we can create space for our growth and others. They're open ended, purpose driven, and they call us forward into action. If you ask a question like, "How are you doing?" right? and somebody says, they give you an answer, right? Or, but if you give a question like, are you happy? Somebody says yes or no. The question's over. Do you need any more of this? Yes or no. Instead of, well, how are you enjoying the product or service we're providing? Or how are you enjoying the food tonight? See, that's different than do you like the food? Yes or no, right? So open ended is the key, but a lot of people don't take time to reframe their question in that way because they just don't care or they don't appear to care. So it makes us pause, reflect, and reframe. The most impactful questions create space, as I said, for growth. They're open ended and remember, purpose driven. Whether you're leading a team, coaching a client, or navigating your own path, knowing how to craft powerful questions, it's like having a master key to a deeper insight and decision making. In the right hands, one powerful question can change everything. Some examples of questions that cut through the noise, I think this is really important for you guys to know, is what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? What am I pretending not to know? What voice is guiding me and should it be? What's really driving this decision, right? These are just a couple, but these aren't your typical small talk questions either. They hit hard because they require honesty and vulnerability. A lot of times when people are making small chat, they don't really want to get into a question that's personal because they don't know if they've created that deep of a bond yet. So usually you want to keep your questions light. But of course, you can still ask open-ended questions that are not going to be like, the entire kitchen sink. Like, how are you enjoying the food? How are you enjoying the event tonight? How are you enjoying the music? What do you think of our weather? So, open ended questions. Okay. Number 5. Okay. Um, but remember, ask any one of these questions when you feel stuck and watch how quickly the fog will lift. But think of your own ways to ask open ended questions. Okay. When to use powerful questions. Timing matters. The best moments to use these questions are when you feel overwhelmed, unclear, or in a brink of like a major decision. They're also incredibly helpful in moments of conflict, especially when emotions are high and clarity is low. When used at the right time, a question can calm chaos, it can reset your mindset and others, and redirect the focus. There, your emotional and mental compass in times of turbulence will get a complete reoverhaul. Don't underestimate the timing of a good question. It's often the catalyst for your next breakthrough. The role of silence after asking is number 6. Silence isn't just an awkward space, it's a sacred space. We talked about spaces on another show, so I won't go into that. But after you ask a powerful question, resist the urge to fill the silence. Just be quiet. That pause is where the magic happens. It gives the brain time to reflect, process, and explore deeper truths. In conversations, silence shows respect. It gives others permission to dig deeper. And when you're asking yourself powerful questions, the silence is often when you really are aware of finally that you can speak up. Embrace the pause. That moment of stillness can hold more wisdom than any words could ever follow. Number 7, creating a daily question practice. All right. So imagine how different your life could be if you asked yourself one deep, honest question each morning. A daily question practice. It's simple, yet life changing. It sets your focus, primes your mindset, and activates intentional living. You don't need a fancy journal, just 5 minutes and a willingness to be real with yourself. Authenticity, right? We talked about that in the past. When you write it down or reflect on it during your morning walk, those questions start to build a muscle or self awareness and personal alignment. Over time, this practice can help you become your best own coach. Maybe a question might be, I always start off my day, thank you, God, thank you, Lord, for allowing me another wonderful day. I'm truly grateful to be here. Maybe the question might be, okay, yesterday was a great day. Today's going to be an even better day. What do I need to ask myself, or where do I need to be to catch the magic that'll help me launch my dreams? It could be something as simple as that. It could be something like, how do I stay focused with all the noise in the world? You could find up your own questions and come up with what they are, and then ask yourself those questions every morning or before you go to sleep. How better questions lead to a better life? So better questions are like keys to lock doors. If we have the right keys, well, we get in. If we have the master keys, we get into any door. They unlock clarity, motivation, and transformation. When you start asking higher quality questions, your decision improves. Your relationships deepen, your goals become more aligned with your purpose. It's not magic, it's a mindset. Asking better questions literally rewires your brain for deeper thinking and more conscious living. The difference between staying stuck and moving forward often comes down to the question you are willing to ask yourself. Ask better questions, and you'll create a better life. All right. I think that's something that a lot of people, I'm going to say, get, how can I say? I think they get a little bit tongue tied with that because they don't necessarily know, what it means. And by saying what it means, like they basically get into this rut. That's probably the best way to put it. They get into this rut. And this rut starts to culminate a feeling of inadequacy. Not because they are, but because of a belief that they have inside them. And I said this to you guys before. What we do every day is very, very important. Um, I think that's important to understand. All right? Does that make sense? I mean, I hope it does. I really hope it does. Um, I think it's important to understand that it's not important, what people are doing. Um, I think that's an important thing, and I think that's an important thing here because I feel this is something that people don't realize. They get stuck in this plethora, this maze, if you will, and they don't necessarily know why, but they get stuck. And the reason they get stuck, guys, is for one specific reason. You know what that reason is? It's because they feel they are not enough. Okay? They feel they're not enough. Now, again, I know that might sound like something that is so far fetched, guys, but the truth of the matter is, when we start to believe that we are enough, magic happens in our lives. Like magic really happens. And I think that's something that a lot of people like they just don't get it, right? They don't get what that means. They don't get like how it means or what it's going to mean. I think that's probably a big I think that's probably something very big for most people. They get stuck in this rut. And this rut is something that I think a lot of people wish they didn't get into, but unfortunately they get into it. And there's no use, crying over spilt milk. It happens. It absolutely does happen. And with it happening, we have to figure out ways that we can stop this from sabotaging us, right? I think that's a very, very important thing. So what I think you'll hopefully understand is that there is so much power in this. But most people do not take the time to observe the power that they actually have. They give away their power. So what I want to do is basically tell you some personal stories that will help resonate, the points I've shared. All right, and hopefully that makes life a lot better for you because when we can hone into a concrete example, it's like we get this magic, right? We get this magic. And so we know that life can sometimes be confusing because people appear to be on our pathway, but then we find that they're not. And that's not saying that they're bad. It's just saying that they may not be in alignment with who we are. And if that's the case, then we have to figure out, do we want to get alignment with who they are? Or is this just something that maybe is not meant to be? And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes people try to be others because they're hoping. I had someone today, I was working on an event, and he was in another country and he asked if he could attend. Now, First of all, he was in another country, so there's no way he was coming. He was actually trying to feel me out because what he did, which was kind of rude, he posted his events in another country on my timeline. So I just politely removed him and blocked him. So some people don't get what etiquette is. They're out for themselves, right? So what is noise in life? I remember coaching a young entrepreneur who had everything going for him: resources, ideas, connections, but he couldn't take action. He couldn't commit. He was always frozen. When we unpacked his daily routine, it turned out he was drowning in his own noise every morning, starting with checking 5 different social media apps, bouncing between influencer advice and consuming endless business tips. He had no space for his own voice. That was his noise. Once he cut the digital overload and re-centered his focus, he started making powerful moves. Sometimes clarity isn't about more info, it's about less. I do a lot of things in the morning, but I have everything on a routine. So, like when I create my social media posts, I have dedicated certain time for them. I know how long each thing is going to take me. So it doesn't take more than it's supposed to. And if it does, I quickly reevaluate that. Why most questions get ignored. In one of my early mastermind groups, a member kept asking me, John, how can I be successful weeks after week, right? No one responded. It wasn't because of the fact we didn't care. It's because the question was flat. It didn't connect emotionally. Eventually, I asked him, what does success mean to you? And what is fear? And what's stopping you from going after it? The energy in the room changed, almost like, night to day. And everyone's eyes lit up. That's when the real discussion started. I learned that day that vague questions fade away, but specific heartfelt ones will draw people in like a powerful electromagnet. What makes a question powerful? It's a great question. During a corporate training, a manager who I was working with from a company approached me about low team engagement they were having. They hired us actually to help boost their morale. She tried everything: bonuses, lunches, pep talks, and I asked her, have you ever asked your team what makes them feel valued? She sat back in a chair and paused for a moment. That moment changed everything for her. She held a meeting the next day, asked the exact question, and learned her team felt ignored during decision making. That one powerful question transformed the company culture. A great question doesn't just inform it, it transforms it. So, examples of questions that cut through the noise: years ago, when I felt stuck in my own business, someone asked me, John, what are you avoiding right now that would change everything if you just faced it? That question hit me like a lightning bolt. I realized I was avoiding upgrading our client onboarding process out of fear it wouldn't be received well. Once I addressed it, everything improved: client satisfaction, retention, referrals. One bold question cracked open a whole new level of success. What was that? So that was about 6 years ago, when I had other companies as well, still do. Jay Moore basically was on the fence about getting rid of a paper accounting system that we had been working with, have been partners with for a year. And we partnered with an online system that we're now partners with, Zoho. And now everything is electronic, from invoicing, from quoting. And we also have cut down the time that we spend, and we actually cut a person's time down that needed for administration, for billing. It's all automated. We collect payments automatically. I think we might get 1 or 2 people that pay us by paper, but everything is all electronic. So when do you use powerful questions? One time, right before a speaking engagement, I was overwhelmed and unsure how to tailor my message. Yes, I was unsure. This was a long time ago. Instead of stressing, I asked myself, what's the one thing I want the audience to walk away with? That simple question brought everything into focus. I rewrote my opening line, connected deeper, and received a standing ovation. The right question, asked at the right moment, has the power to shift everything instantly. You guys know I'm back in school, going for my master's in CSAI, and I'm also then pursuing my doctorate in CSAI. Well, last night I had a very interesting dream. Um, the semester is closing up, and I think I had gotten my review on something, and everything was great. And then all of a sudden, um, everything was A's. But then my participation grade was a C, and I looked at the professor and I said, "Professor," I said, "how is this a C?" "Well, you weren't so engaged the last week." And I looked at him. This is in the dream. I said, "But Professor," I said, I was in thought. I said, "I was working. Look at all the things I delivered you." "I know, but you weren't saying it in the classroom." So I challenged him. I said, I'd like to meet you. Everybody was wrapping up the class. I said, I'd like to meet you, professor. So he said, okay. So we met the next week. He says, what do you propose? I said, I propose extra credit. You know that I am very driven in everything I do, and I would like the opportunity to show you that. Fine. What do you propose? I propose a teach back to the class. He pondered a moment, and maybe I should have came up with something else, but I did that. I've done it many times before. He said, okay, give me a proposal of what actually you want to teach back, and I'll let you know. Next day, I prepared it. Then I was giving the presentation. It was going well. And just as I was getting the A, I woke up. So my point is, sometimes you have to be the contract negotiator. Even if there doesn't seem to be a negotiation on the table, you can create one, even when you don't think the situation is negotiable. The role of silence after asking the question. I once mentored a student who struggled with public speaking. I asked him, what scares you the most about being seen? And then he said to me, I squirm at first, trying to fill the gap, but I stay quiet. After about 30 seconds, tears just dripped down his eyes. That people won't like the real me. He finally said that silence made space for a breakthrough. It reminded him that silence after a powerful question is where truth lives. Don't rush it, guys. Honor it. Creating a daily question practice and routine. A few years ago, I started writing one question at a time at the top of my journal each morning. One day it was one fear I can shrink today. That question led me to finally start my own video series many, many years ago, even after I've been a successful video producer. Another day, I asked, who needs my encouragement today? And ended up sending a message that rekindled a friendship. These questions don't just change your thoughts. They propel us to shift our energy and the actions we choose to take. A daily question is like planting a seed. Over time, it blooms into wisdom, but not overnight. How better questions lead to a better life? A client of mine went through being completely overwhelmed, scattered, and ready to almost go out of business. And to clear this up, just to upgrade some questions, instead of asking, why can't I stay focused? He began asking me, what do I need to feel energized about and aligned today? The shift moved him about from being a victim to someone who would now be someone who is a career, passionate entrepreneur. His productivity soared in just a day or two. His relationships improved. And when you learn to ask yourself better questions, you stop reacting and start designing your life. Your life becomes a reflection of your inquiries. Let me say that again. Your life becomes a reflection of your inquiries. When I started this a long time ago, I started adapting the concept that I know I can do the right things. I just have to believe in myself. You'll remember my page, believemeachieve.com, right? For more of my amazing, inspiring creations, that's Believe Me Achieve. I think we get a little bit taken back because of what happens, okay? We get a little bit taken back. And so I know that some of you are saying to me, John, like, that never happens to me. And the people that are saying it never happens to me, guess what? You're the one that's happening to first. I don't mean to point that out, but it's just really the truth. So I think if we can take a moment to pause, to take time out of our day, to realize where we are going, and are we going somewhere that we want to be, or did we get on the wrong train or the wrong plane? We've all been on the wrong train or the wrong plane, right? What do? Well, first thing you realize you're on the wrong train or the wrong plane, but sometimes you wind up going to the destination that's completely out of your way. I've done this on the subway a few times in other countries. Didn't really know the line very well. And it was like, well, what am I going to do now, right? I didn't panic. I had plenty of time to get to the appointment or where I had to be. And so I just said, okay, where am I? And I got off that train or that plane. And then it was a train at the time, subway. And I got on somewhere else. And it worked out fine. In a world flooded with distractions and external pressures, my show Inspirations for Your Life highlights how asking the right questions can serve as a powerful antidote to the chaos. Instead of reacting to mental noise like social media overload, news cycles, and internal self doubt, I encourage listeners and viewers today to get intentional about their inner dialogue by identifying and filtering out the noise that we can finally reconnect with our own clarity and purpose. Remember, anybody can be reactive. It takes a serious, professional, engaged person to be proactive. So, this episode dove into what makes a question truly impactful. It's not about complexity or cleverness, it's about emotional depth, timing, and openness. A well placed, powerful question can shift mindsets almost in seconds, unlock hidden motivations, and even dissolve the conflicts. From what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail to whose voice is guiding me now, and should it be? The episode shared some great questions and challenged your assumptions. To bring this transformation into daily life, I shared the concept of building a question practice. Just one intentional question a day can even steer your focus away enough to get some growth. With the right question, followed by courage to sit in silence, we access our deepest insights, ultimately asking better questions, leading to better choices, stronger connections, and a more fulfilled life. And you might be saying, hey, John, that is like amazing, right? That is really, really amazing. But I think you have to realize that it's not about what you did yesterday, all right? It's about what you can be doing tomorrow. But that all happens because of who you are and what you're thinking. And let's face it, guys, thinking is nice, but thinking is not going to change the world in 24 seconds, right? It's not. You have to do this on a regular basis. That's right, guys. I said a regular basis. That sounds like a lot of work. Well, planting seeds in a garden doesn't happen overnight, and getting that harvest or crop doesn't happen overnight either. So you can bring these transformations in your life, but the question I want to challenge you with is, do you really want to? Are you going to take the steps necessary to make it happen? Or are you just going to live a reactive life? I mean, that's completely up to you. Living a reactive life is stressful, will cost you more resources, whether it's time, money, people, emotions. Or do you want to live a life with you at the head of the ship as a deliberate creator? That's a question you have to ask yourself. I can't tell you. I know I choose to live as a deliberate creator because I love creating where my life is now and where my life is going, and I can make tweaks and changes to that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's always a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you guys here. So these amazing days, nights, even afternoons. You check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, of course, inspiring creations. And I'm going to catch you guys on the next show or another piece of content real soon. BelieveMeAchieve.com.